Hello and welcome back to my channel, Managing Marathons. This is just an insight and a reflection on my race that I've just completed over the weekend for the Ultra Trail Snowdonia Marathon 50K by the UTMB World Series. So let's get into it. Right, so let's get into it. So I just completed, as you know, the UTS 50, which was part of the UTMB World Series from North Wales, or in North Wales at Llanberis, a beautiful little town in North Wales, right in the heart of Snowdonia. And it was, for me at least, the 50K, which was actually 57K and approximately 3,400 meters of elevation, according to my Coros and Strava. So quite a task. For me, at least, my longest ever run was a marathon, 42.2K. So this was quite a stretch for me, 57K, so another 15 or so kilometers on top of a normal marathon. Although that doesn't sound like an awful lot, let me tell you, with the 3,400 meters elevation gain, it's a complete game changer. It doesn't resemble a normal marathon at all. So for those of you that completed or even attempted to complete the 100K or the 100-mile, you have my full kudos and respect. It was brutal just on the 55K one. So let's get into it. So I'm just gonna have a look at the screen here and go through the elevation and the map. So if you look here, we've got the start in Llanberis, and I will talk through the lower left-hand corner. Keep an eye on that. That's actually the area where you will see the elevation gain a little bit more clearly, not just the route, as it were. So we start in Llanberis, which is here at about 107 meters. Go up the Llanberis path. This is 7.5K. I've done that several times. And if you look at the elevation gain from here, it goes up to about 902 meters, which is about right. 902 meters, because we don't actually get right to the top. We just get to the top, switch back, and then take a sort of a hairpin left down the pig track. All right, so, and that's where this happens right here. So we start now descending down the pig track, and you can see on the lower left-hand corner of the screen, that's a very steep descent, particularly at the top there. You drop well over 100 meters in just very, very short periods of time. And it's very steep. And what I would say about the pig track, beware the traffic coming up, because we are going down around about 10 or 11 in the morning on a very sunny Saturday morning. So everybody that's parked up at Penny Pass at the lower end of the pig track is now ascending, coming up the pig track, because it's a lovely day out for them. So your day trippers and tourists are all coming up as we were going down on a particularly tricky path, especially the very top end of it. So we went from there, and then we went on this lovely little path, and it's a pig track, and we got to as far as aid station 1, my apologies, to Guastadanas. The cutoff there was, I think, 11:45. I think I got there about 11 a.m., give or take. That's 15 kilometers, as you can see from the screen. And already you've just gone up and down Snowdonia, 15 kilometers. And for me, it took about 3 hours, just over 3 hours to get 15 kilometers. So that kind of puts it into perspective. Then we go along this ridge, which is fantastic. It's nice and flat. In fact, it's a really nice, steady downhill, very runnable. It's on grass. Some of it is through wooded and forest areas, so you'd have to be careful of the roots and the rocks sticking out. But you can jog through there. And as you can see from the aid station, roughly 92 meters, all the way down to about 57 meters. So it's a nice steady decline all the way through there. Then, of course, switch back and start to go up Snowdonia on a much steeper path. This is now the Watkin path as we ascend through the top Snowdonia, and then it switches on here to a little unknown path called the Cambrian Way Ridge. And as you get to about here, 1,000-ish meters, we then switch onto or join the Rivdu path at the top end of Rivdu path, which is absolutely brutal. This is where the ascent is 37-ish% up incline, and that was really quite brutal. There I was scrambling, and everybody else was scrambling too, just trying to get some traction and move up. So that part is something to worry about if you're considering doing this next year in 2025. Then you head left, you go round the cafe at the top of Snowdonia there, turn left, follow the railway track, and then head down the ranger path. And as you head down the ranger path to checkpoint 2, this is quite brutal on the quads, what I call quad killer, because you've just gone up and down and up again, and now you're going down quite a steep descent into Nanti Betis, near the reservoir, onto aid station 2. And aid station 2 was Broni Fedu, if I pronounced that correctly, apologies. Around about 32 kilometers, 32, 33, and the cutoff there was 3:45 in the afternoon. And again, I managed to hold on to that 45 minutes. I got there about 3 o'clock, I think, for myself. Then you move on, get on to Betis Garmon, which is the next aid station, and you can see the ascent here. If you look at the lower left-hand corner, that's quite an ascent, and it's very steep. It looks small, but it packs a powerful punch, that little hill there. And you have to really work hard at this. You've already done Snowdon twice, you're on the 3rd ascent. It's trickier than it sounds, even though it looks like the smallest hill in that profile picture there, lower left-hand corner. Then thankfully you go back down again, you get to Bulchi Gras, and then finally to aid station 3 at about 129 meters. That's 40 kilometers in. So 40 kilometers in, I know I got there at about 20 past 5 in the afternoon, still just about managing to hold on to that 40-minute buffer before the cutoffs. So I was quite pleased about that, but give or take the cutoff, I had about 40 minutes, and we'll come back to the aid stations in a moment. But that was really nice to be at the last one there, because you just got a good feeling of finally got to the 3rd aid station. Many people didn't, and kudos to them, absolute respect for trying, but you're in 41 kilometers there at around about 6 o'clock. So just to put that into perspective, a normal marathon, at least for me, is about 4 hours. This at 40 kilometers, so still 2 kilometers shy of a full road marathon, took almost 10 hours. So 2.5 times longer to complete more or less the same distance for an ultra marathon with crazy elevation gain, as opposed to a flat marathon. So that really just puts it into perspective. Then from there, you carry on and you go to Bulchi Gras, as I said, onto Brumau, and then onto Mol Elio, another rise, as you can see in the lower left-hand corner profile there. And then finally that descent, which is really very, very welcome at the end there. And then along the Maesiguin Ridge, and then that final descent, which again is quite brutal on the quads if you're not used to it. I certainly wasn't. So that took a lot out of me coming down here. And if you look at the map, you finally get to this little switchback and go along a fairly flat ridge, which is fantastic, very runnable, which is wonderful, gravel track. And then you rejoin the Lamberis path, and then, as you see, all the way back into the slate mine in Lamberis. So that's the course and the profile. What I would say, and what I did learn from the aid stations, and I'll come on to the thank yous at the end, where I learned this from, and all the podcasts that I listened to. There's lots of them out there, by the way, so I'll see if I can put a few in the notes below. The aid stations are very welcoming. Of course, it's a nice place to rest and relax, but beware, because there's a slight caveat to that. Just be careful, because I saw a lot of people rest and then rest and then rest for even longer, and then it was really tricky for them to get back up, find that energy, and then to get going and move. And one of the things I got from a couple of YouTube videos, and certainly from some podcasts, is beware the chair. In other words, try not to sit. As soon as you sit, and this would definitely be the case for me, As soon as I sit, I cool off and I get comfortable. My brain goes into chill out, relax mode. And then as I stiffen up and get cold, it's much harder then, both mentally, so psychologically and physically, to get back up. So I didn't sit at any of the aid stations. Even when I went to double check my laces and retie them, I just sort of crouched down on the grass, did my laces and stood back up pretty quickly. Now the aid stations, what I would say top tips is just be quick. Don't sit if you can help it. Beware the chair, as they say. Don't linger. Be as quick as you can. Remember your sweet and your salty products, because you'll need both from the very beginning, from the very first aid station. Don't let it wait till the second or third one. Eat as much as possible. And what I mean by that is almost stuff yourself to the level that you are not uncomfortable, or that you know, since you've been practicing eating and hydrating on your practice runs, on your rehearsals with your pack, how much you can eat and get away with it without having any GI issues. So eat as much as you can, stuff your pockets, and absolutely thank the volunteers. They do an invaluable job. They're always friendly. From what I just experienced, they were fantastic. Always friendly, couldn't do enough, offering me all kinds of stuff as I approached the aid station, and definitely within the aid station. So thank them. They got a very difficult job there. They're there from probably the day before setting up, and certainly long into the night, and even probably the day after, helping runners that come in later than you, and probably on the longer runs as well. So for hydration, as you may have guessed, I've got two of these, one either side, which is really useful, 500 ml each, plus the bladder. The bladder was 1.5 liters. Why is that useful? Because that's 2.5 liters. And on this particular one, which was a hot one, by all accounts, I thought it was around 21, 22 degrees. I have heard it was as high as 25, 26 in some areas, in some pockets, which would explain the high attrition rate. Water, really important, not only to rehydrate your body, but also to rehydrate your brain. Your brain is about 70% water, and in order for you to think clearly and process the information, effectively all you're doing on an ultra marathon is problem solving, continuously problem solving. If your brain is dehydrated, you can't think straight or clearly or process information properly or efficiently. So for me, it's as much about hydrating the brain as it is the body. So 2.5 liters, 500, 500, and 1.5 at each aid station. That's 7.5 liters for that day, which sounds incredible to me, but I did get through it all. And I also had one of these little cups, which was part of your compulsory kit. I think this is 250 ml. I had 3 or 4 glasses of Coca-Cola at each aid station. So 4 of those would be another liter. So Coca-Cola is fantastic, by the way, especially when it's flat. As you all know, I'm sure, has lots of sugar and lots of caffeine, perfect for running and, you know, using your muscles all day. So this thing became invaluable. As I'm sure you're aware, you'll have your own products, but I use Tailwinds, different flavors. They go in my bottles and they get topped up with water. This stuff is fantastic. At the aid stations, I'm sure you would have seen these bars, the NAC bars, as well as the little cakes they do, those little waffles. They're fantastic, by the way. I had 3 or 4 of those at each aid station. Again, just getting in that glucose, getting in that sugar, that caramel, and those carbohydrates. They're made from that little crispy caramel stuff, which is delicious, by the way, but it's also very useful for nutrition. So NAC bars, and then I'm sure you've seen these before, the SIS hydration tabs. These have 20 tablets. I got through a whole tube of these. I was doubling up on the little water bottles because I sweat a lot, and I know that I was doubling up on one of these for each one. So I could make sure that the salts and the electrolytes were topped up to max every time I left the aid stations. And I'm really glad I did, by the way, because I did see a lot of people struggling, like really struggling. Not only DNF at aid stations, but DNF, i.e. did not finish long after the finish. So after 10 p.m. for us, there were still people coming in, and good for them for getting to the finish, even though they knew they were going to be out of time. That's kudos from me for sure. But they didn't finish because it's hard work when you're dehydrated. And then for me, I was basically going through my Moritons. I've got the normal 160 Moriton gels. I took 10 of these and 4 of the caffeine ones, and I got through them all just like that. It's insane. But you really do need a lot of calories on these ultra marathons. You're burning through 5,000 or 6,000 calories, at least that's what my data showed. And I went through, well, 7.5 liters of water and probably 2 liters of Coca-Cola. So well worth having to think about that. And the other thing I did was take a couple of these, precision hydration salt tabs, which were useful. I don't know how useful they were, but I just kept popping them in because you want to make sure that you've got enough hydration and electrolytes. And I also did this. I'm not sure if you do, but certainly the pre-mix drink the night before, that has about 80 grams of carbohydrates on the night before the race and the morning of the race, just to top up those carbs and glycogen levels the day before, particularly in your liver and your muscles, as well as a couple of bananas and porridge and that kind of stuff. So that's the hydration and the aid stations done. So I really want to just say thank you as well, because the staff at these places are fantastic. Remember just to pace yourself as you go through the day, have a sort of a constant rhythm, as it were. Don't go crazy. I saw people flying up the Llanberis path. For me, I was probably at 60-70% capacity going up Llanberis path. I knew it would be a long day. I've been through Snowdonia dozens of times now, but I knew the Llanberis path was the easiest one to do, especially the ascent. And I knew the others were coming up, and I've never done it all together, but I've done them separately, and I knew it would be hard work. So pace yourself, take your time, just like the advice you'd be given with a normal marathon. Start slow. It's the best advice you'll get. You'll hear it on other YouTube channels, and you'll definitely hear it on podcasts. Start slow. You can always increase the pace later, and you can certainly start to move quicker the closer you get to the end, based on your own judgment of your energy levels and your ability at that time. But if you go off fast, the chances are you'll burn through the matchsticks far quicker than you anticipated, and there'll be nothing left from halfway onwards, particularly with the elevation gains on this one. So that's the hydration. So for me, and I'll put the links in the notes if you like, I also want to say thank you to a couple of people who said hello to me. And if you remember, I had my vest on, which was for I was running for Young Lives versus Cancer, as I'm sure most of you know by now. And I did say on my last video, if you see me, come and say hello. And a few people did. So I'm really grateful to you for doing that. I think Stuart Randall was one of them. I got their bib numbers. I think we took some pictures. Stuart, thank you for saying hi. I think that was on the second descent of Snowdon, and we were both knackered. Adrienne Kulig, I saw you at the start. Thank you for saying hello and wishing me good luck. And I wished you good luck as well. So it was fantastic to meet you and your girlfriend. And I think that was at the Slate Museum right at the start. Lily Snell, I think it was, that we met again, funnily enough, on the ascent, the second ascent of Snowdon. I think we met a lot of people on that ascent because everyone was going really slowly trying to get up there. Mike, I met you at the Lodge Dynawig, which was fantastic, at the hostel, and Sam at the Gelty Glyn hostel. Fantastic to meet you. And of course, Samuel Richards, who's part of my running club, which is Pontypridd Rodents in South Wales. Sam, well done. Sam attempted the 100-miler. He already started off with an injury in his ankle and managed to go over 70 miles, which is absolutely credit to him, all kudos to him. We did have a bit of a joke about it later, saying if you'd entered the 100-kilometer one, you'd have easily finished, because 70 miles is about 110, 115 kilometers. But full kudos for trying that as well. And then last but not least, of course, you'll have seen him on the Facebook page for UTS Snowdonia 50. That's Ivan, who was running barefoot, which is absolutely amazing. Running barefoot on all those jagged rocks and shards of slate. unbelievable really, but he did it for all sorts of reasons. I'll come back to another video on that one, hopefully in the future. So Ivan, kudos to you, not only for doing that, you did the 100-miler, which is amazing, barefoot. Super kudos, full respect. And then finally, some YouTubers. Chris Brandt, I met you, pictures on the screen now, outside the cafe in Llanberis. That was complete coincidental. Saw you walking past, recognized it, said, "Are you Chris?" So Chris Brandt, I'll put a link in the notes there. He's an osteopath. Does some great videos, watch his videos. They're very informative, and he's very knowledgeable in this area. So Chris Brandt. Claire from Wild Ginger Running, we haven't met or anything, but I do like your videos. I do watch your channel and I have subscribed. You've got some fantastic tips, really like what you do. And you're obviously an avid and passionate runner, so I do really follow everything you do in terms of your tips and tricks and all the warnings that you have on and all the information that you have and insight into running. So fantastic. And of course, last but not least, you may or may not know Gary House, who's done a few recce's for Snowdonia. So Gary, thanks again for your YouTube and your insight and tips as well. So finally, just want to say, well done for everybody that took part. It was a fantastic race. I'm definitely up for it next year. That's 2025. The other race that UTMB are now putting on in the UK at least is in Cornwall, and that's the Arc. The Arc, which is around Cornwall along the cliff path along there. The Arc of Attrition, which I'm considering doing at least a 50K. I'm just trying to get over the one I've just done, but I'll certainly be doing Snowdonia next year. So that's another opportunity for you to earn your UTMB stones in the UK without having to travel abroad. So well done for everybody that's taken part. Whether you finished, DNF'd, or had an injury, whatever, kudos for you for taking part and at least being there and having a go. This was no joke, it was hard work, so full kudos for doing it. So thanks again, keep watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Please leave comments, because I've learned a lot of stuff from the other YouTubers and podcasts that I listen to, and the notes. I read through all the comments that other people leave because it's their own experience, and we all learn from each other's experiences, which means that we all just get better. And that's why I love this community. We really all do support and help each other, which just makes us all get better at what we all love and passionate about. So thanks again for watching. Look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye for now.